Yep. Okay, well, welcome to the Personnel Committee meeting for Monday, January 31st, sorry, 2022. In accordance with the requirements of open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and will be able to be found on Lunenburg Access YouTube channel after the meeting. Following information is also provided for members of the public that would like to view the meeting remotely. To view remotely from a computer, please use the link below to join the public meeting webinar. Or from a telephone, dial the toll-free number 888-475-4499. No participant IDs needed, just press pound when asked. The agenda lists all the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by open meeting law. We'll call the meeting to order. And the first item is the approval of the minutes from January 24th. Any discussion on the minutes? All right, hearing none, all in favor of, well, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the January 24th, 2022 minutes.
Second, this is Wendy Bertrand, second.
All right. All in favor, Susan? You're muted.
I'm talking to you, Sue, and I was muted. Raise our hand.
Aye. Is he asking me? Aye.
All right, Joanna's an aye. Susan, I'm gonna assume that you're attempting to say aye. Wendy
Aye.
and
Donna,
Donna?
Aye.
All right, Eric's and I. Let me get back to the agenda. All right, so next thing on the agenda is discuss the recommended changes to the salary administration plan bylaw.
we know that's going to take a while, so do you want to skip to the new business? Just if they want to leave the meeting, they can.
So because first one's the new hire videographer.
Do we need a motion to take things out of order?
I don't know if we've ever done that before.
I make a motion to move the agenda items.
I'll second.
I have fire chief and EMT and paramedic. I don't have a videographer, I'm sorry. But is it the videographer we're moving up front?
Yeah,
We can
Yeah, new
start
business. So
however
I
you
make a
want.
motion to move the videographer to before ongoing business.
And we're going to do the same with the fire positions as well.
So why don't we just make a motion to move new business before
Yes.
ongoing business?
Yes.
Second.
uh, all in favor, Donna?
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
Susan,
Aye.
and Eric's and I. Yeah, we've never done that before. I don't know. I don't know if
Yes.
anyone's got
We
any.
don't
research on that.
typically do that either if items are taken out of order at select board meetings.
Yeah, I would be in favor of not doing that, just to eliminate one other vote that, but. All right, so. Julie, do you have something? I mean, I have some notes here on the videographer thing. Is there?
Mm.
What can you tell us about that?
Well, Joe is on here, and basically what I had written is that we wanted to start him above the minimum step 1 of grade 3 based on his related experience.
Yes,
Ah.
I agree with Julie. I'm sorry to interrupt. We've lost 3 videographers within the last 6 months, so we're bare bones right now. So that's why we're trying to get some hired. This particular young man is soon to be a college graduate, has had a lot of freelance work that he's done, which includes video streaming. A lot of people don't know how to do that. He's also had public access experience, which is a real plus. So we didn't want to start him out at step 1, basically because of that information, but also the last college graduate we hired them in at grade 3, step 6, which is $15.28 an hour. And I thought that because this young man has the same qualifications as our last hire, who had great experience, that I would recommend that he gets hired in at grade 3, step 6 for $15.28 an hour.
Does anyone have any questions for Joe?
Joe, I assume that doesn't get in the way of anybody else in your crew?
No, the salaries as they stand are for the least experience is in the $13 range. And then the more experienced one is in the 16 or step 8 range. So this would bring him down close to the more experienced, but not quite. So it would leave him 2 steps behind our most qualified videographer, not our senior videographers. They're at a different step.
Okay, thanks.
I would make a motion to put the videographer on grade 3, step 6, I believe was the recommendation of $15.28.
Yes.
I second.
All right, all in favor? Susan,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Donna,
Aye.
and Eric's and I. Okay, the next one is
Thank you.
firefighter, paramedic on call.
Yes, and Chief Sullivan is on to speak about these job descriptions that he's created. Just a little background, we do have some on-call fire positions. Paramedic is a new position to the fire department. And then we did not have an on-call firefighter advanced EMT listed. So we just want to find a home for anybody that has these qualifications upon hire. And Sally, I'll let you take it from here. Sally?
He probably thought he had some time.
I don't know, he's not muted. Chief, are you there?
Yeah, he unmuted himself. He was muted, so I don't know, maybe his mic's not working. Let me see. He presented a lot of information on this.
He's having some computer issues. He's gonna call in.
Okay, that's good.
Can I assume, so this says grade 11, that it's always step 1? And if it was different than step one, it would say grade 11 dash step 2 or,
We're not hiring a person, we're just putting it into a grade. So when we hire a new person, that's when we'd pick the step.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So there's that AEMT, that's what, advanced EMT?
Yes,
Yeah, I see on the schedule of titles, we have a firefighter EMT on call and an EMT intermediate on call,
correct.
paramedic on call.
Right. So Celia has provided me with some information that I can share until he jumps on. So as you were saying, Eric, in grade 7, there's an on-call firefighter, also an on-call EMT, no combo. And then grade 9 is the on-call firefighter EMT. And that is where the on-call advanced EMT, not firefighter / advanced EMT, just the advanced EMT sits, as well as an on-call paramedic. If someone comes in with their firefighter / advanced EMT or firefighter / paramedic, we don't have a current home for them on the SAP grid. And as we move past that, grade 10 is the on-call fire lieutenant, grade 11 on-call fire captain, and grade 12 on-call deputy fire chief. So basically, we're just looking to review the job description and then find a home on the grid, and those are the recommendations, grade 10 and grade 11.
And you, Heather, and Chief are all in agreement on those 2 grades?
I think they would fit in based on where the other positions are that I just listed.
I think he's in the waiting room right now.
Oh, sorry, I'm not looking at my screen. Yeah, 2 people, might be 2, let's see, try that one. Sally?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, not having a lot of luck with the computer. I'm trying to watch it by here, but I don't have any communication other than my phone here.
Okay, that's fine. I basically just reviewed the current positions and where they're graded on the salary admin plan, and where your recommendation to put these on a grade 10 and 11 would be.
Correct. Yeah, when the original plan was put together, they really didn't have a step for a dual trained firefighter. At that time, they were called an intermediate EMT or a paramedic. We only had a couple single role, and now we don't have any of the single role people. They're all dual trained people. And where we're going to the paramedic level, I need to not only keep the ones that I have, but try to draw a few more in too. And right now, a firefighter EMT, a firefighter advanced EMT, and a firefighter paramedic are all at the same level. And I kind of would like to see that get corrected to, do something for those people. Because I think if you've got the document that shows there was that shows like the skill set difference, there's quite a bit more for an advanced, and even more so for a paramedic over a basic EMT.
So
Sally,
So
Chief,
I would
the
make
par-
a motion.
I just wanted to ask the chief the difference between the paramedic and the EMT. It seems like the paramedic's more advanced training.
Very much so. Just to give you an idea, a basic EMT, initial training is about 140 hours, and advanced EMT is 400 to 500 hours, and a paramedic is over 2,000 hours. And if in one of the documents is basically a list of like the skills that each level can do, and you can see how much more a paramedic can do, especially when it comes to like advanced cardiac care.
So the first one is the firefighter advanced EMT review position description assignment of grade. So I would make a motion to accept the position description and assignment. What? I'm sorry?
That was just an echo from
Oh.
your audio.
I don't know. I lost you all on my screen. I'm sorry. So I'd make the motion to accept the job position with the grade for the EMT, advanced firefighter in EMT.
Here a second.
I'll second. This is Wendy.
Okay, all in favor? Sue,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Donna,
Aye.
Eric and I.
And then I'd make a motion for the firefighter paramedic on call position and assignment of grade.
I'll second
second.
that. All in favor, Sue,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Donna,
Aye.
and Eric's and I. So thank you, Chief Sullivan.
This is Wendy. Just
Thank you.
thanks to Chief Sullivan for very detailed, clear, and concise outline of both positions, making it very simple to for us on this end.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Julie?
Yes.
Julie, would you confirm, these are two brand new ones, so they have to go before the town meeting to be approved? They aren't replacing,
Correct.
brand new. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
All right, so now it looks like we're ready to go back to the ongoing business of discussing the recommended changes to the salary administration plan bylaw.
So I was hoping to be able to provide you with a condensed version. I think we can all agree that right now at this point, based on the responses that I received, the only ones that aren't up for discussion would be the transfer and promotion area. And if I miss something, then just speak up. This is to the committee members. I don't think any of you had commented on that area. The other one, didn't look like anybody had a comment on sick leave. I didn't see anything regarding the FMLA section, military leave, or jury duty. Everything else is kind of up for discussion.
Okay, so do we want to take a vote on those particular sections first and then go back to the stuff that needs to be discussed?
Based on Attorney Terry's recommendations,
Yeah,
it's fine with me.
all right.
Can I
so-
just ask before we vote, Eric, can we hear, if any of the SAP employees that are on the call have any concerns on those before we vote, that we just hear them? I don't know if those came up in conversations with Heather and Julie, so just do a quick round robin if we could.
Go ahead, Nancy.
I don't have any issues with those changes.
All right, thank you. Barb?
Hi, everybody. Could you just name them again? I got one. I have the sick leave and the transfers and promotions. What other sections went through?
Family medical leave,
Which is number, okay,
military leave, and jury duty.
okay. Yep, I don't, jury duty. Yep, I don't have anything either. Thank you.
Robert Casey,
This is Rob. I'm good.
thank you.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion that we,
Oh.
I see,
Case's hand is raised.
Yeah, I'm all set.
Thank you. Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we vote on approving the changes as recommended by Mark Terry, the attorney for sections 70-11 on transfers and promotions. 70-20 on sick leave. 70-22 family and medical leave. 70-24 military leave. 70-25 jury duty. That's
I
it.
will second that.
Okay, all in favor? Sue,
Aye.
Wendy,
aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Donna,
Aye.
and Eric's and I. All right. So now that we got a few things done, why don't we,
Start from
I
one.
guess I would suggest just taking them in order and
Yep.
going from there. All right, so the first suggestion, number one, was section 70-2 Personnel Committee. Who wants to speak to that? I know it wasn't me.
In here, does it say when our terms are up? Are they up as effective July 1st? And then it's every 3 years? Does it go to June 30th and then July 1st? What's our appointment schedule?
Appointments are on a fiscal year basis, but for terms of, yeah, they would be 3-year appointments, but rotating. So, and it also matters if you took a position from someone who resigned before their term is up.
Okay, so all new terms would come into play January 1st, effective for 3 years, December 31st.
No, fiscal year, not
Oh,
calendar.
so July 1st,
Yes.
July, okay. And so then do we have like a first meeting? I know this was something David had talked about and there was confusion on before. So somewhere in here, should it say like the first Wednesday in July, whatever day, that we hold at least that specific meeting to elect our officers?
That's something Julie made a recommendation of in the tracked version, is to have it at the first meeting after June 30th of each year to
Where is
reorganize.
that? Is that C?
It's in section 1, third paragraph down.
ABC, yeah, okay. Sorry, what my peep is, it's hard to see this little right.
I know, and I don't have ABCs on mine, so I can't.
Okay, so that's with the blue. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Julie.
Yeah, so that says said committee shall elect its own chairman and vice chairman. Their first meeting after June 30th of each year. Are there any other questions on that personnel committee section?
Well, let me go back to that, Eric. I'm sorry. I don't mean to drag you down. But so does it say of each year, their first meeting, because our first meeting after June 30th could be December.
It could be.
Right. So that's where I'm saying, I think we should have in there that we at least have a meeting in July to elect our officers. So at least we're not in December saying, all right, we all got put on here in July.
Well,
Do you see what I'm
typically
saying?
you'll only hold a meeting if you have business to attend to. And that way this leaves it, the phrasing open to your first meeting after the end of the fiscal year. Because there could be an instance you can't meet because you can't get a quorum either.
We've actually, this is my 5th year on the committee, and we've never gone very long without having a meeting, Joanna.
Those were the only two I had in that section.
The other question I had in 70-2 was regarding the last sentence, and this was something we talked a bit about at our last meeting. You know, that verbiage could be open to interpretation, that there is, you know, sort of less involvement from the personnel committee on the decision-making side. It's any language that would take away sort of that in conjunction with town manager, I had some concern about. You know, the charter reads in conjunction with the personnel board as established by bylaw. So just anything that could be perceived as removing duties or responsibilities of the personnel committee. I don't know if anyone feels like that's the case or not.
What paragraph is that in?
Is that the red line down in D? I put A, B, C, D next to them so I'd know which.
Okay, you were smart. So hang on.
So the personnel committee and hereby authorized in that red crossed out line.
Yes.
So you want to keep the red crossed out line is your recommendation.
Yes.
Or are you looking at the very last paragraph,
Well-
last sentence of the section? Because that seems like it's even more. I
Yes,
have
sorry,
my,
I'm trying to catch up because I was on the front page of Mark's
Go ahead, Heather. Did you have, I see your hand up.
I was just gonna say, I think what Mark's recommendation is that basically decisions of the personnel committee in administering this bylaw cannot be taken to town meeting. What's voted at town meeting is language changes to the bylaw, as
Okay.
well as adoption of the classification plan, the grades and salary.
okay.
So if you were to say, like you just did previously, voted on position description and assigning or approving someone above minimum grade, that can't be taken to town meeting. It's a decision in administering the bylaw that you just did.
Okay. Thank you.
Barb, did you have something you wanted to say?
I do. I can put myself on a.
Sure.
I actually would have take issue with both sentences of the 4th paragraph, or D, and also the last sentence. I think D, and the occasion that I always refer back to is when the personnel committee made a decision on wage schedules without involving employees, and certain employees had to go to town meeting to raise a question and have those employees that are at the top of their grade be allowed to have an increase. So this is the only line in the entire SAP that gives an employee a chance to come to town meeting and say, okay, the personnel committee voted on this topic, but I don't agree, and I would like to bring it to the town residents to review. And then as far as the last sentence also that Wendy brought up, I think that's a great point, that the charter or the bylaw does say in conjunction with the personnel committee. So I feel like both of them should remain. The redlined one should remain in and nothing should be done. Or I don't actually like the last sentence, but that's been in there for a while, so didn't see that before.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, I don't know where the in conjunction thing is, where you're referencing that. I don't see those words. I don't see those words struck out. So what?
Well, and can I speak?
Yeah.
It is actually just the very beginning purpose and scope of the salary admin plan 70-1. And it just, oh, okay, no, I'm sorry, I apologize. It's in the town manager description where it says that she works in conjunction with, she or he works in conjunction with the personnel committee. So I don't know if I have a section notated. Section 4-2 in the town manager duties. To be in conjunction with a personnel board established by bylaw entrusted with the administration of town personnel systems, including but not limited to personnel policies, practices, rules, and regulations. So if we leave that sentence in, it takes away that in conjunction, as Wendy was saying.
Where is the town manager duties that you're talking about?
In the town, it's in the full town bylaw.
All right, but I mean, that's not what we have. That's
It's
not
in
what
the
we're voting on.
charter, not the town bylaw. In the town charter.
Sorry. Okay.
Julie?
I was just going to speak on the last sentence under section 1 of the personnel committee in the SAP that we have. Barb, was that one of the sentences in question that says, in the event that the personnel committee does not have enough members to conduct business, the town manager shall have authority to administer the SAP?
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so as an SAP employee, I just want to throw out there, if we didn't have enough members on this committee, couldn't hold a meeting because we don't have a quorum, and it's now June, salary plans are due, salary grids, or we have new hires that are starting above a step 1, who's going to administer that if we don't have that sentence there?
Personnel committee is a committee of 5. I don't know. I mean, I just.
Yeah, Barb, I think that line's there because the reality is we all could resign tomorrow, those members, those of us that are on the committee, and you just can't let the business of the town stop because of that. So I mean, I think that's, you need that last sentence to make sure that the town can still conduct its business if there aren't enough volunteers, frankly.
Okay, that's fine. Just bringing up my point. But I do not wish that the red line line in paragraph D, or the 4th paragraph, is not, I do not want that struck out. That's my opinion.
I mean, the appeals thing, I think what you're talking about, Barb, if you didn't like something as a SAP employee, if you didn't like something that the SAP decided, there's nothing to prevent you from going to town meeting and speaking on any issue, right?
Well, I don't live in town. Do I have, do I have as much say as somebody else? I don't know. It's just, it's been in here, and that is the one thing we've had to hang our hat on. That's all.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Barb, what you're referencing is exactly the point that I made previously, was that that's not going to change town meeting only votes on the language of the bylaw and the salary administration plan grid, like you referenced, that was brought to town meeting by the previous DPW director. So those are two things that town meeting can vote on. They can't vote on a decision of the personnel committee administering the bylaw. So there would be nothing to prevent a vote at town meeting that is contrary to what the personnel committee is recommending at town meeting. So there could be an amendment on town meeting floor regarding language in the bylaw, if there was a proposed language change, or the grid, a change in the comp. Does that make sense?
All right, thanks, Heather.
All right, maybe any other discussion on the personnel committee section? You know, Julie or Heather, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but in Mark's kind of summary letter, he references like personnel committee 70-2, and the 2 is supposed to be the section, but in the kind of marked up document that I printed out, it's everything's off by 1, right? So it says instead of section 2, it says section 1. Is that
Version
know,
he has, yeah, the version he has was from the charter. He
okay?
pulled it off, yeah.
So there's just one other section that maybe the preamble is considered section 1, something like that. And
His version comes straight from the general code, which is transfers our bylaws into the code. So that numbering system is the general code of the bylaws. So that's where that difference is. Yeah.
so I would suggest that we maybe take up, 2 or 3 of these sections that people want to discuss at a time. And after discussion of like those 2 or 3 sections, we hold a vote and then move on to other ones rather than wait all the way to the end, and also rather than do it after each one. Is that agreeable to members?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So that's a personnel committee. The next one is classification and salary schedule. There was a suggestion in there where it says position of all employees in the service of the town are not otherwise covered by collective bargaining agreement or employees of the school. So he's adding the language, or suggesting that we add the language that the SAP does not apply to employees of the school department. Is that something that people would have questions about or wanted to discuss?
No, I just left it. I wasn't even thinking when I put that, just in terms of the salary grid, that's not ready yet. So the language, nobody had commented on that, I believe.
Okay.
Other than the grid, that section is, that's fine.
All right, so that little suggestion to add that is fine. All right, or no one had any questions on it at least. Section 3. Well, let's see. That's not that one. 70-10 or 9, depending on the document you're looking at, was he was suggesting that we strike out the whole layoff procedure / recall procedure, because let's see, it says consider deleting it in its entirety, replacing it. It provides for the discretion of the town manager to consider factors other than seniority. This assumes that there are multiple positions in the same classification. If not, consideration of seniority is irrelevant and not worth it. Okay, so who would like to open up the discussion on this? I know this was something I wanted to discuss as well. Heather, did you want to say something about this first?
I was just gonna say, I think Attorney Terry at the last meeting was gonna provide language after the discussion from last meeting. That was, I thought, was the action.
And did he do that? Did he provide that?
No, we haven't received anything yet.
All right.
you want to pass over that one for now until we get something from him and then we can discuss it again.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I missed, did we go through 3, all the way up to 10 so far? Okay.
We're just discussing ones that people want to discuss. So that was, 2, 3. And this was, now we're on the layoff procedure.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I didn't have any questions on any of them, so
All right.
up until we got to the layoff procedure, so we'll skip that one for now. So do we want to vote like 1 through 9 now?
Yeah, well, again, we're not voting on things that don't need to be voted on. This would be like looking at his letter, the only changes he suggested were his numbers 1 and 2, and we're passing over 3, and we already approved 4. So just on that first page of his letter, I was looking at 1 and 2, which is section 70-2 and 70-3, to vote on those. And as far as the layoff procedure, my thoughts on that are, there's no telling what's going to happen down the road. Even if though someone, let's say a position now is only held by one person, doesn't mean that's always going to be the case. So I don't think it makes sense to delete something just because it's not relevant for, January of 2022, because someday it may be relevant, and I'm not aware of any problems that's caused. So I don't know. Anyway, those are my thoughts on it. But why don't we make a motion that we vote to approve the changes as outlined in Mark Terry's letter that are numbered 1 and 2. It's section 70-2 Personnel Committee and section 70-3 Classification and Salary Schedule. This is just the language changes that he suggested. Anyone want to second that?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Sue,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
Joanna,
No,
Donna,
Aye.
and Eric's and I. Those 2 sections pass. Why don't we move on to? Heather, your
Can I
hand's
just clarify,
up.
did Wendy say no?
Joanna said no.
Joanna said no. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear it.
Yeah, so I think that would be 4-1 in favor. Sue,
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
counting
I just
correct?
couldn't hear who it was.
Yep. So the next topic for discussion would be section 70-12, or we're looking at the marked up version. 70 dash,
Did we skip 70-11?
yeah.
Oh, we're
Section
going over it?
11, personnel.
Say that again. Somebody's making noise. 70-11, are we skipping over that one too?
They already voted
No.
them.
No, we were gonna discuss it.
Transfers and promotions, to be clear.
It was already voted on.
Oh, yes, sorry. Thank you, sorry. Check marks. Okay, sorry.
All right, so 70-12 or section 11 on new personnel. If you're looking at the marked up document, he recommended revising paragraph A to read that the hiring rate shall be the minimum of the rate range of the job for which the new employee is hired, unless the town manager determines paying the employee at a higher step is necessary due to the employee's qualifications and experience in marketing conditions. So this was, anyway, someone wanted to discuss this. Heather?
There's a correction just that strike through for otherwise authorized by personnel committee should still be in the document. And it should be a period and then a new sentence with a capital T at the town manager.
So it's gonna say the hiring rate shall be the minimum of the rate range of the job for which the new employee is hired unless otherwise authorized by the personnel committee.
Period, and then start a new sentence, the town manager determines paying the employee. We can reword, yeah.
Okay. And then in section B,
Yeah.
there was a few words stricken out. For whose position there is a rate range. Do you know why that was stricken out?
It's because if there's no rate range in the pay schedule. I think he was just trying to provide some clarity there on that.
All right. Well, does anyone have any issues with the suggested changes in section 11, the new personnel?
There's also the comment
Oh.
too.
Is that 12?
Well, yeah, it's section 12 or section 11, depending on what document you're looking at.
Gotcha. March versus, okay.
Yeah,
You
so
see the-
Mark. Go ahead.
Sorry, do you see the comment attached to letter B under that section? For suggestion,
Yeah, it says add C. So basically add another section, C, effective July 1, 2022 for new regular full-time and new regular part-time personnel. Eligibility for a step increase will be on the anniversary date of employment.
Wouldn't that be administrative nightmare?
well,
Because-
half of the unions are anniversary right now and the other half are fiscal year.
Right,
So what's happening is when you have someone who is hired January 4th, they have to wait basically 18 months for their first step increase. And then on the flip side of it, you have someone who's hired in October, and then that coming July, they receive that increase. So this way, everybody would be receiving it 12 months from their date of hire, not some in 6 months, some 18 months. So we're just trying to make it consistent.
Is this, Nancy?
well, it's
is
not
this-
consistent because out of the 4 unions, 2 do one way, 2 do it the other way.
I mean, we're open to suggestions, so someone doesn't have to wait 18 months for an increase. This was just the only way that we could come up, and it's for the committee to decide on how you see fit.
Nancy, is this what you manage as part of your job?
Yes,
And what are your thoughts on the matter?
if you make everyone on anniversary date, there's a lot more manual spreadsheets and documents that need to be kept. Because the system is geared towards July 1 step date.
Yeah,
And when you have that much manual when that much manipulation required, I would think that that increases the potential room for error.
I would,
I'm thinking it took us a year and a half to do the clerical contract, and then we had to go retro and pay them all. So to sit there and have to do by anniversary date instead of everybody July 1st, July 1st, July 1st, I just think would be a lot more work than the July 1st date.
How many employees are we talking about here? It's less than 20, right?
Not if you
This is
include,
Donna.
not if you include on-call firefighters and reserve police officers.
But it's not hundreds. I'm not talking about hundreds of rows in an Excel spreadsheet. Am I off base?
No, not hundreds.
What are the contracts that have gone to anniversary date of hire?
Police and clerical, I believe, are anniversary now.
Do you anticipate that the other two unions will also want to do that? It seems like the employees benefit from that change.
How?
I'm not involved in negotiations. I couldn't answer that.
Okay.
I mean, schools are typically on a, academic year to academic year thing. We're more, the end of one academic year and July 1 or the next school year, you start up like a new, you might go up a step then, but
Yeah, our school employees are on a 7-1 step date.
yeah. Which I mean, schools are kind of unique in that there is this kind of clear beginning and end to every school year. It's not, I always felt that makes the years go by faster because there always is this beginning and end where other jobs, it doesn't end. It just goes on, one year blends into the next, but so I don't know that the schools would be changing anything. So that just leaves one contract that might change in the future.
Clerical and police are on an anniversary step.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I mean, I guess the benefit to employees by changing it to anniversary date is that they likely, it would be a consistent, time frame, 12 months after hire that they could be eligible for the next step, whereas as opposed to potentially being longer than that.
But
Although
it
I can see that it helps the budgeting process to leave them on the budget year.
I think, Mr. Chair, what I think Julie was referring to as far as consistency wasn't just comparing, them against other bargaining units. It's just the fairness of within the SAP employees that some people, depending on when they start, will wait, less than a year, and some could wait 18 months. That's the consistency that we want to see.
Well, let's fix that 18-month, because I mean, the worst case scenario, someone that gets hired in January or February in 4 months is going to get a 30-cent raise. We're not talking, hundreds, we're talking 30 cents. Would be the worst tragedy that's going to happen.
Well, I mean, it might be 30 cents, but it's per hour. So depending on how many hours you work a week by 6 months, I mean, it could add up. I don't know what that would be, but
But we're going to move 25 people, change our software, change our Excel spreadsheets for 30 cents. Because someone might get an additional 30 cents per hour.
I can just, you got to remember, this is going to be off of their hire date. So it's not everybody's due at once. We're not going to have 20 new hires on the same day. And it's only new people going forward. So I think it would be pretty reasonable to manage.
So everybody else will stay on July 1st, and anybody new hired is going to go by hire date?
We currently have a combination, the way that the SAP was, I think, and those who've been on longer than I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think some are anniversary date and then it was switched to fiscal date. And now we're looking to bring it back to anniversary date. Just to, I don't know how else to make it fair for employees to receive their increase. I mean, using myself as example, I came in the end of October and July 1, I got an increase plus my COLA. And then you have somebody who starts January 3rd and they have to go the whole 18th month cycle to get their step increase. So,
And I started in February and got mine in July 1st.
yeah, and ours is not written like that.
Right. So,
Yeah. So that's all. It's just, we need to fix this. I'm not saying that the anniversary day is the right way. It's just seems the most fair.
yeah, I don't think anybody should have to wait 18 months for a raise. I think
Yeah.
that's crazy. So I think we look at the 18-month issue, not revamping the whole process. Is how do we fix the 18-month issue?
So Julie, just do the employees then after that first one stay on their anniversary in your scenario, or go back to the July?
I would say always anniversary.
And then you'll have a mix by making this change, that some will still be on the old method and some will be on the new method, correct?
Which I
So
think
it's
is
going to
what we,
be,
which is what I think we currently have now.
Well, I guess I would agree with a couple things. One, if we want to fix a problem, the anniversary date seems to be the way to fix a problem. And two, I agree with Donna that it seems for certain, at least for the SAP employees, is a very manageable task to do, given the number of employees. But maybe that's something that we want to, why don't we just vote on that separately, since people may be more divided on that issue. Anyone, so we can take that vote now. Would anyone like to discuss it any further? Nancy?
The only suggestion I would have would be to move all SAP employees to 7-1. Then there's not the difference between the new hires, the old hires. Everyone would be on a 7-1 pay schedule. And while it's not, it might not be cumbersome to keep track of everyone's step date when you come to a payroll projection. And you have to count hours until their step date and then count the hours from their step date to the following June 30th. It is cumbersome and open to errors. You have to manually count the hours that the people work from 7-1 to their step date, and then from their step date to the following June 30th for an accurate payroll projection. When you're adding more people to that mix, it is more work.
I just want to add, I feel like that's doing the
Nancy.
opposite. Like, so now we have someone who has to wait 18 months. Now we have someone who's been there for 2 weeks and is getting an increase. So I'm not sure that's
I don't agree with the 18-month thing. I never did,
right.
but I'm just saying it will create a lot more room for error on the payroll projections when it's to be done to the hour.
Nancy, this is Donna.
Yep.
Does the software allow for reporting that would tell you that information? How many hours to the end of the fiscal year, and then how many, and then the projection could be based off of the last year? Just trying to understand how the software works.
No, I don't. I've never found anything in the software that gives you that information. I use a calendar. But, you know, whatever you decide, I'm just speaking my opinion from a work perspective. I don't think the 18 months is correct, and that's not fair, but I'm not sure anniversary date would be the right. And if you did hire someone 2 weeks before July 1st, you could hire them at a step lower in anticipation of getting a step on July 1st. That could be a way around that.
All right, well. Nancy, I'm not familiar with the software that the town uses, but I'd like to think that there's some software or spreadsheets out there that would calculate this stuff, because I can't imagine that the town of Lunenburg, that we're the only ones that are trying to keep track of anniversary dates of hires and.
Well, the
projected hours.
issue comes in when people work different hours each day. It's not, they don't
Right.
all work 8 hours a day. Some don't even work the 5 days. So
Yeah.
when your extra day is a Friday, that doesn't count for some people, but it counts for other people. So I don't even think that the software can account for everyone's different schedule. That's why it has to be done manually.
But at the end of a given tax year, everyone gets a tax information form that tells you how much money you made, which then can be figured out how many hours you worked. So the software can do it to some level, even if it's just the payroll software. Somewhere there has to be the way to get the information, easier than counting it manually.
Well, in 11 years, I haven't found that in the payroll software.
We don't have it either.
Wow, okay, thank you.
Eric, I would recommend, this is more complicated than I think we initially thought. And I would recommend that we all kind of sort through our own thinking about this and table it. And maybe one of us can come up with some creative way. I can see both sides of the coin on this one. It's not an easy answer.
Well, I mean, if you're trying to get, make it consistent that someone's eligible for the next step a year after they're hired, I mean, data hire is the way to do that. I don't think there's another way not to do that. I think the question is there, can the software do this easily? So we're not, creating the potential for more problems, but I gotta believe that there is a solution to that without making Nancy's job terrible. But why don't we? So was that like an official motion to table?
No, it's just a recommendation.
All right. Well, I would make a motion that we table this this particular section on new personnel, and maybe give Heather and Julie a chance to look into it some more and see if there is a software solution to this that would make it easy for all the town employees, not just the SAP employees. But it seems like if that's a direction that they want to go into, which makes sense to me, you figure you'd want to do it as easy and error-free as possible. So is this something that we can come back to down the road? All right. So a motion to table the new personnel recommendations. Is there a second?
Second, this is Donna.
Okay. All in favor, Sue,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
and Donna,
Aye.
and Eric's and I. Okay.
Now, in that, Eric, Mr. Chair, was there an action for Heather and Julie to try to figure out if there's a way to get this information differently than holding a spreadsheet and manually counting?
Well, there was a suggestion. I don't know if that was an action, but
I took it as such. I noted it as an action item.
Okay, thank you very much.
the next recommendation was the grievance procedure. That's section 13 or section 12 in the marked up document. And that the main suggestion there was to strike out the words received inequitable treatment and essentially replace it with subject to a violation of the salary administration plan with the basically the suggestion was that makes it more clear, since that is what we deal with, the SAP, that rather than trying to determine what is inequitable treatment. That was my understanding of his explanation. Would anyone want to discuss this?
I can go first. I'm just gonna go for department heads, because it says a violation of the salary administration plan. If an employee who believes that they have been. So if a department head feels that they have, they've been a victim of a violation of the salary administration plan, and they go to their direct supervisor, which is the town manager, who evidently made the violation of the plan, because that's their boss. So now their appeal is to go to the town manager to override her decision. And I think the town manager's decision shall be final and binding. I'm sorry, it's these peepers binding, leaves them no appeal process whatsoever, where historically, back in 2010, I've been doing all this research back in 2010, it was in there that it would come to the board if it's a violation of the SAP policy.
Are you talking about only department heads, Joanna?
Yes. Well, I
Because all the other employees wouldn't
would have a
necessarily
boss
work
to
for
go
the,
to, and then to the town manager. And I did provide that, what was in 2010 in my feedback to Julie and all you guys earlier.
but I'm not sure I understand, Joanna. Did you mean all employees or just the department heads only go to the town manager? All the others go to a layer or two between that and ultimately to the town manager?
Correct.
Okay.
So do you have a
Does that imply that
suggestion?
there's,
Go ahead, Donna.
I'm sorry, I can't raise my hand. You can't see me, I'm sorry. Does that imply that there is no availability for overstepping an authoritative boundary in order to get to the next level if you need to? In other words, as an example, you know, I'm an employee. I report to a department head that reports to Heather, if that's correct, if that is the correct reporting structure. I, for whatever reason, I don't feel I can talk to my department head. Therefore, I don't. I go to Heather. Is it possible to step over?
It first has to go to the,
Silence tells.
it first has to go to the department head and then the town manager.
Okay, thanks.
Well, in that
So-
case, and I don't know the structure with Julie is new. Would it really go from the department head, if they're complaining about their department head, to Julie, then to Heather. So they really now have 2 lines.
I would think so.
That's a question for
How's that
Julie.
work, Heather? Does
You're saying
Julie-
officially? Like, what's the official process? Just like it's written in the current bylaw, it would be to the department head and then the town manager.
Because we
Okay, but
didn't,
when we did the bylaw, there wasn't an assistant HR manager, was there? When the bylaw was
No.
written? Right. So now would we add that step in the bylaw? Because now we have an HR person that if I'm not happy with what my department head told me, I would go to HR and then the town manager. Or do we just continually bypass Julie and go straight to you?
And the official process is through the department head. Yeah. Unofficially, anyone could go to the HR director.
I think what Joanna is asking is, does it make sense to add that as an official step? From employee to department head, from department head to assistant town manager, from assistant town manager to town manager.
Thank you, Eric.
I understand now. Thanks.
Are you looking for some more job responsibilities as assistant town manager, Julie?
Well,
'Cause
hopefully it's going to help
totally-
Heather.
We're totally,
That's the goal, is to help Heather.
we're totally fine just giving, people more job responsibilities without even asking for it, so.
Well, hopefully it's going to ease Heather where there's that now person that can hopefully delineate the issue.
Can't imagine there's that many grievances anyways, so.
Right.
I would also guess that if a department head had a difficulty with that kind of a situation, he might include you in a discussion anyway to assist, as might Heather in that same scenario, invite you in to assist.
Yeah.
That is correct.
So I guess that's a possible change we could, or addition we could make to this language. The other item is, the last line in blue that was added, the town manager's decision shall be final and binding. What was, Joanna, in your research, what was the line before? From 2010 you referenced.
In 2010, if an employee feels aggrieved by the operations of any provision of this plan, he shall first discuss the matter with the department head. If conference between the employee and the department head fails to clear up any questions to the satisfaction of the employee, she may refer the matter in writing to the personnel committee. The committee shall take the questions under advisement, collecting such facts relating thereto as it may deem helpful, and it may, in its discretion, hold hearings with respect to such questions. No later than 30 days after receipt of written submission of the matter to it, the personnel committee shall render its decision and thereafter promptly take such action as may be necessary, authorized hereunder relative to the dispute. So I just feel that if a department head is the person that has the issue, with the SAP policy, with something within the SAP plan, and the town manager is the person that, of course, or is going to act on that, there's no avenue for that department head to go to. And I think they should be able to come to us as a collective board, and, whether it's in writing, however we determine that, and be able to express that concern and have us weigh in on that matter.
I disagree. I don't think we were ever intended to play that role as a committee.
Is that Sue that said that?
Yes. Well, I
Thank
pulled
you.
that language I just read through right out of the 2010
2010,
SAP
yep.
plan.
So somewhere along the way it changed. I wasn't there when they changed it, but
Nancy, you got your hand up can you speak to any of the history of that change?
No, I don't recall the change or why it was made, but a compromise could be to take the 2010 language and insert a step after, if the department head fails to clear up any question, then it goes to Julie or Heather. And if that doesn't clear it up, then it could go to the personnel committee. It's just an option. There aren't many grievances that I know of, but I'm just thinking you could include both. You could have the assistant town manager or HR director and Heather and the personnel committee after that, if need be.
Eric, if I can,
Yeah.
my concern, like hearing this with the personnel committee, we're going to discuss a employee's grievance publicly.
That would be up to the employee if they want to bring it to the personnel. It's not mandated. It's if they want to use that avenue, that we're giving them the ability to do so.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on it are, I could see the logic of, well, two things. One of wanting to get, let's say, a second entity involved in the decision other than maybe the person that you feel is violating the SAP, being the town manager, if that was the case. But that could be accomplished by adding the assistant town manager in there. So the department head could first go to assistant town manager with regards to a grievance, and then it goes to the town manager. So that would be one way. I think it makes sense to do that, but it also makes sense because it gives you a second person involved. My other thought is, that maybe that language was stricken from the personnel committee charter because maybe there's a good reason for it, that it wasn't very helpful. I mean, I don't envision the role of the personnel committee to be, deciding these grievances. And if it was a serious grievance that the town manager was ignoring, there is the option of, other, well, as the attorney states it, to be clear, this does not preclude an employee from pursuing general concerns about inequitable treatment or under a separate town policy. But at least in his opinion, it's beyond the scope of what he would recommend in the SAP. I guess that I would agree with that. But I do think it makes sense to officially add Julie's role as assistant town manager to this process. But if you, I guess what I would suggest, Joanna, if you want to go ahead, well, Barb has her hand up. Go ahead, Barb.
I just want to put 2 cents in, just that it doesn't give that employee or department head too much, any representation. It's just easier to speak. I mean, Julie and Heather are very combined. I don't know what my word is. They sit right near each other. It's not as if you can go to one and feel like you're not speaking with the other. And I'm sorry to say it out loud, but I did. Personnel committee kind of just gives it more of an objective audience, and that's what would be more helpful. And again, like Nancy said, I don't think there's all that many. We're just trying to to give the employees on the SAP a bit more representation. Everybody else has a union, or a bargaining unit to go to voice their issues. And we're just trying to have the personnel committee, should we need it, in order to hear a grievance, that's all. Oh, executive session can make it so that it is not necessarily totally public. There's always that option. Thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, as far as like, SAP employees wanting to discuss things with the personnel committee, that can happen just like it's happening right now at any time. I do think it's a different matter to like officially hear a grievance. I don't think it's that uncommon. Like in my role, I'm principal of a school. If I have a problem with how I'm being treated, there's a head of school, right? There's like a superintendent, but that's it, And if I don't find satisfaction with any response I get from the head of school, there's no one else for me to go to. So I don't think it's that uncommon. Eventually, at some point, you do run out of people. I don't know that I would be in favor of having the personnel committee take on this role. But I do think it's something, if Joanna wants to suggest that we add that, then I would suggest you make a motion and let's vote on it. And then we can decide on the other changes that were already in there. Heather?
I just wanted to add two things. One I brought up last meeting was the grievance procedure, as outlined here, is very similar to our collective bargaining agreements. They as well don't have the avenue to go per se, for instance, the select board. They would have to go, once it goes through those proper channels, it would have to go to court. For the executive session, that's for the person that it's about, public official that the complaint or charge is being against. So for an employee that had a grievance, that's not their right to have that in executive session.
Okay.
Joanna, did you want to make an official motion to add the language you suggested?
You're muted, Joanna.
I apologize. It would be to remove the blue. The town manager's decision shall be final and binding. And just put that the availability of that if said department head wants to appeal to the personnel committee, that they have that option to do so.
So then I guess
But at the end of the day,
go ahead, Donna.
I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, the town manager's decision is binding.
Why do you say that, Donna?
Because I don't think that we have the authority as a committee to make a decision on that. It's up to the structure, the reporting structure of the town. And as far as I can tell, unless I've completely missed something, we're not in that role.
Well, the first sentence in the salary administration plan, the end sentence says to represent the interest of both taxpayer and town employees.
No, I get that. It's to represent their interests. It doesn't mean that we get to decide. We can make a recommendation, but I don't think our decision is binding in this case. Now, there are things, I mean, we've done a lot of votes tonight, right? I mean, all of these decisions are binding, but if I understood what Attorney Terry was saying, there are some cases where it's way out of our scope, and this is one of those.
The other thing I would say is that I agree with what Donna's saying. The other thing I would add is that if we were to be even approve language that said that employees can appeal to us, to the personnel committee, well, then what does that mean? What's that appeal process? What does that mean? We just vote on a decision and you know, I guess we'd have to spell out what that means in the motion to add the language.
I did not hear a second on that motion.
So it failed.
Joanna, were you leaving that as stated? Or
I'm sorry,
revising
Wendy?
that at all?
I'm sorry?
Were you revising that motion at all?
Yeah, the motion was to remove the blue
Yep,
and that the department head would be able to come to the personnel committee to share their grievance.
Is there any
So
second?
I'm happy to second it.
I'll say, yeah, I was
I'm
gonna
happy
say,
to
I will,
second it.
All right, it's been seconded. All in favor?
And my apologies for probably speaking out of turn, because I probably spoke within a time that should have been after a second. So my apologies there.
No worries.
All right, all in favor of Joanna's motion, which was to, again, to strike the town manager's decision shall be final and binding, and to add language that states that people can, SAP employees can appeal to the personnel committee. Sue,
No,
Wendy,
aye.
Joanna,
What's the vote?
on your
Yours.
motion.
Aye.
Donna
No.
and Eric's a no. Okay, so this gets us, so I guess that was Sue, for your notes, was it 3-2 that the motion failed?
yes.
Okay. So getting back to the suggestions. That are there. Does anyone want to discuss further the suggestions in the grievance procedure section 13?
Again, I would make that we don't accept the blue. That's a new ad that I don't feel needs to be there.
For those of us that don't have it in front of us, could someone please read what the blue says?
I think she's referring to there's a couple words in blue up top, but that's just adding, instead of they, it says he or she.
That's just
And
that last sentence.
Okay.
the last sentence
Okay.
that is the town manager's decision shall be final and binding. So that's one
Okay.
change. And then there's some text in red that says
I'm fine with all that.
that strikes out received inequitable treatment and adds in subject to a violation of the salary administration plan. So those are the two changes that we're voting on. So do you want to vote on these changes separately?
I think this motion would be just to remove that one piece. I
All right.
didn't hear any recommendation on any other part.
Yeah.
That's correct. I'm fine with everything but that one last sentence.
All right, so Joanna's making a motion to strike the last sentence of the town manager's decision shall be final and binding from the grievance procedure. Someone want to second it?
This is Wendy. I'll
Second.
second.
Okay. Sue,
No,
Wendy,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Donna,
No,
and Eric's a no. So that language will stay. And there's, I correct that no one objects to the language above it, the subject to a violation of the salary administration plan. We need to vote, I guess we need to vote on that anyway, since it's a change, so so make a motion to accept the changes in red, beginning on the subject to a violation of the salary administration plan.
Well, we're voting to accept the motion as is now, the whole thing as is.
Okay. Anyone want to second that?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, Sue,
Aye.
Wendy,
No.
Joanna,
No.
Donna,
aye.
and Eric's and I. So that passes through the two. The next section is hours of work, overtime, compensatory time. That's section 17 or 16 in the marked up version. I didn't have anything that I wanted to discuss here, but someone must, so go ahead and speak up.
I thought the terminology was a little confusing as it related to what actual hours performed, and then all the categories of types of hours that may be used for additional overtime. I just didn't know what the current practice was. I didn't hear that at the last meeting. Is this a change or is this just a clarification?
Well, I think the one of the clarifications, which is a change, is defining employees as either non-exempt or exempt employees, which I guess that language wasn't in here before, but that it's.
Yeah, I'm fine with those two. It's more
Okay.
about in the non-exempt area, what actually performed. It talks about hours actually performed, and then it talks about hours that might be considered for overtime. And it just seemed confusing to me. That's all. I just wondered what the current practice was.
I can kind of speak on that. The language is very common amongst other contracts with the union contracts, to include sick, vacation, holiday for overtime. Most don't receive overtime anyways under the SAP. I think, like I brought this up last week at last week's meeting, where it's highlighted work actually performed. And I think, Sue, you're on the same page as I, like work actually performed as hours of you sitting at your desk performing duties, not sitting on the beach. So I think we just need to clarify this section to either remove work actually performed and just say this includes sick, vacation, holiday, and so forth. Or are we actually saying that we will only pay time and a half once you physically worked 40 plus hours?
Correct.
So it's
What's
just
the current practice?
I would think Nancy could probably be the better person to speak to this, but I would think it includes sick, vacation, holiday.
Nancy, is that true?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so this is really just a clarification of what's already in place. It just was confusing to see both those terms, actual hours worked, and then all the other hours that are included in the process of creating overtime.
So I think So I think I'm agreeing with what you're saying, but basically we would be, or what you're suggesting is that we strike out some of the words that are already here. And that's kind of what Julie was saying as well. Like-
Correct. Just make it clearer that we're going to pay for
Yep.
time worked, as well as if you're on sick or holiday or whatever, that is also included in the calculation of overtime.
Yep.
Correct, Jill?
Yeah, just kind of get rid of work actually performed.
Yeah, that just confuses it.
Yeah, it's,
So it would say, for non-exempt positions entitled to overtime pay at 1.5 times the regular rate in excess of 40 hours within a work week. Is that correct? Because I did
I'm not
not,
sure the actual words you need.
Yeah.
Nancy might be a better judge of
Yeah.
that.
I did not say the phrase, the words that I struck out were for work actually performed. So it just says times the regular rate in excess of 40 hours per week. And then the next sentence says, it goes to define the words work actually performed. So we could strike that out
Yeah.
and just start with essentially add the word this and just say this shall be construed to include all duly paid time off, including but not limited to holidays, sick leave, vacation, personal, blah, blah, blah. So we're keeping that what it does include, but just getting rid of this actually perform language.
Yes, I would agree that that would be helpful.
Couldn't it be employees' normal work schedule?
I'm not sure what you mean, Joanna.
Well, some work 37.5, some work 36, but they're still full-time in sport. So whatever they're hired within their normal work hour is what this is all based on. Whether they work 4 days a week, 5 days a week, it's what on my normal work hour is.
According to their schedule. Yeah,
Well, I mean, this is just for overtime, and you only get overtime when you
Right.
work over 40 hours, so.
Right.
Correct. So you'd have to work, if I'm 36, I've got to work 40 before I get the overtime.
correct.
So I'd have to hit 40 hours, then I would get overtime. My assistant town clerk works 37 and a half. He has to work 40 hours and then I pay him overtime when he works elections, when he works.
Yeah.
But if he has more than 40, if he works 45 hours, he gets 40 at his normal pay and 5 at his overtime pay.
Mhm.
Right? Am I?
Yeah.
yes, you're right.
That's what this
Yes.
says.
Yep.
Yes,
I mean, that's the law. We can't even change
Correct.
that, right? So,
Correct.
no. Yeah, this doesn't say anything contradictory to that.
it's just a clarification.
Mhm. Do we need the examples? Roman numerals 1, 2, and 3.
The lawyer didn't recommend taking them out?
No.
I would, the only thing I would pause on is public safety, because I think their calculation,
It's different.
you're right. And so that maybe a question for Attorney Terry.
Okay.
All right, well, so let's just leave that for now. So this, can I just read back what the first paragraph would say? And make sure that we're all in agreement on that. So it would say, for non-exempt positions entitled to overtime pay at 1.5 times the regular rate in excess of 40 hours within a work week. That doesn't even seem like a sentence.
For work, I think you need to leave for work in excess. I think you just take actually performed out.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so we'll leave for work. All right, thank you. So let's try that again. For non-exempt positions entitled to overtime pay at 1.5 times the regular rate for work in excess of 40 hours within a work week. It still doesn't seem like a sentence to me, because I'm what, what happens? It's,
Maybe
well, you know what?
exempt, I'll say
For.
start at exempt, non-exempt positions.
Gotta
Yeah,
get rid of that word for.
yeah.
All right, let's try it again. Non-exempt positions entitled to overtime pay. I think we gotta add the word are, right?
Or will
Non-exempt positions.
receive, yeah.
Non-exempt positions are entitled to overtime pay at 1.5 times the regular rate for work in excess of 40 hours within a work week. At least that's a sentence. So I think is what we were trying to have it say. This shall include all duly paid time off, including but not limited to holiday, sick leave, vacation, personal days, and bereavement leave, and such leave shall be included in the computation of 40 hours.
That sounds repetitive, that last sentence.
Yeah.
I mean, the last after the comma,
Yeah.
just period after bereavement leave. Shall be construed to include all duly paid time off, including but not limited to holiday, sick, vacation. Does that read right?
Yeah, I think so.
Period after bereavement. Scratch the last.
Because it begins by saying this shall include, so you don't need
Right.
to say include
And
again.
include again, right?
Yep.
All right, so one last time here, hopefully. Non-exempt positions are entitled to overtime pay at 1.5 times the regular rate for work in excess of 40 hours within a work week. This shall include all duly paid time off, including but not limited to holidays, sick leave, vacation, personal days, and bereavement leave.
Sounds good.
Okay. So I make a motion that we accept the changes in, okay, the case, or is it KC? Sorry.
Case, yep. Yeah, I just think that it would be nice if there was something in there for employees that can't get overtime that are salary, such as compensation at the rate of, 1.5 times in case they had to go out and do something above and beyond their normal work hours, which does happen a lot for certain employees. So it'd be nice for those employees to have something in there to hang their hat on rather than just leave it up to the department head.
What,
Isn't that in there somewhere else?
Because legally,
Julie?
we have to give comp time.
I thought
I don't
comp time was in there somewhere.
But I don't believe it's defined as any particular amount of time, like the 1.5 for the overtime is for hourly employees.
Yeah, it's at the very bottom of that, under exempt employees, at the very bottom.
Which would be comp time is given at time and a half.
Does
You're
it
talking
say that in there? Because that's not how I've understood it in the last 2.5 years. Well, that's not what I've been told either by the department head.
so the last paragraph under exempt employees, so it says, notwithstanding anything in the foregoing paragraphs, the appropriate department head may, instead of paying the overtime rate, provide that the employee take compensatory time off at a rate of 1.5 times the hours worked that qualify for overtime pay. Compensatory time must be taken within 60 days.
Thank you for clarifying.
Okay. Nancy? Nancy, your hand's up on Zoom. Did you have a question?
Yeah, Case, well, maybe it's a question for Casey. Were you referring to exempt employees because they're not entitled to overtime?
I was referring to employees that are not allowed to get overtime that are salary. So I guess they would be non-exempt.
Well, there are no salaried employees on the SAP. They're all hourly. But there's a difference between exempt and non-exempt, and exempt are not entitled to overtime. So it depends on your job description.
All right, thanks.
So Eric, you made a motion. I will second it.
All right, so all those in favor of accepting
And
the,
I'm sorry, I have a question now that Casey is gone. So usually salaried employees, if, you know, if it takes them 60 hours to do their normal 40-hour-a-week job, it's a busy peak season, they don't get overtime for that. That's something but if they have to go to night meetings and do things above and beyond their 36 and a half or 37, whatever the hours are in Lunenburg, what do they get to like take those 2 hours later in the day for that meeting? Like we're able to, any meetings we attend at evening, we get to make up that time. As you said, an hour 0.5. Is that something that is within the SAP here for those employees?
They would, as a exempt employee, which I also equate to someone who is salaried, they would get flex time basically to.
So like Julie somehow is getting compensated for sitting on this call with us for now almost 3 hours.
A lot of employees just go above and beyond as well. But yes, they're allowed to flex their time.
the SAP salary schedule is obviously all hourly. So I guess my assumption was that anyone on the SAP was paid hourly, but is that not the case?
So their calculation of their annual salary is based on an hourly rate, which I think something the personnel committee should address when looking at the comp plan this year. Is a lot of towns have their rate schedules, but they also have a line below that for salaried employees for that, say, grade. Let's just take, one of the top grades, which would naturally be a salaried position. You would have the hourly rate, and below that, salaried amount.
How many positions are salaried? I know what you're saying. You're saying the salary is kind of based on an hourly rate, but they're not punching a time clock each day. They're not submitting time cards. They get the same paycheck every week regardless, right?
Yes, yeah. There's certain employees that when they submit their timesheets, it's just submitting for benefit time off, paid time off. But maybe that's a discussion we can and do a full review.
Okay, so do we have a second on the motion to accept the changes as discussed in the the hours of work?
Yes, I did it.
overtime? Okay,
I did it, Eric.
all right. So again, this is
But we
section.
didn't vote.
Right. So regarding the changes to the hours of work, overtime, compensatory time, all in favor? Sue,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Donna,
Aye.
and Eric's and I. The next topic for discussion was the paid vacation section.
Can I just ask a quick question? What is our goal? Are we trying to get through everything tonight, or do we anticipate a second meeting? Just, I mean, and just
Yeah,
Thank you, because I was going to ask
thanks.
for a time check.
I'll always be there for that.
Well, that's why I'm bouncing back and forth. My husband's looking at me about dinner.
what time?
Well, yeah, and I was just told dinner's on the table, so.
That's why I keep going to mute. Jay's like, oh yeah, what are we doing for dinner?
Hey, coming from the school committee, 3 to 4 to 5 hours at the end were normal. So, and I know it's not here. I just looking at what we have ahead of us and how we've, sort of been thoughtfully discussing each point. I just was curious. I
Well-
know we have to have changes in by March 20,
Yeah.
proposed changes. Yes, March 21st or
Right.
yes.
How about we pause and set a meeting or a next meeting date? Because yeah, we're not going to get through all this tonight.
We're just not, yeah.
It is, it is almost 7 o'clock. So
So Eric, I'd make a motion that we finish tonight's discussion and set the rest of it in motion for our next meeting.
Second.
all in favor, Sue,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Donna,
Aye.
and Eric is an aye. I want to go for like 4 hours, but I'm just, for the good of the group, I'm willing to end this early. How about, all right, so we'll pick up with the paid vacations and beyond at our next meeting. So how about we, before we get to the rest of our agenda here, just set a next meeting date?
Yes.
I know the past couple have been Mondays. Would that work for people?
Next week, I only have Tuesday available. Next week. Week after I could do any night.
Well, the February 14th is the next Monday after that, and that's Valentine's Day, which maybe we'd all be looking for an excuse to avoid that holiday, but maybe not. So
I hope not.
well, what about yeah,
Can people not do February 8th or?
I
I can do
can't.
a Tuesday.
The
Okay.
only thing in this particular case that I want to think of is that we've had SAP, employees, be present. They work a long day on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So since this has a direct, some of our agendas obviously might not be as, as key for attendance. But I don't know, it's just a thought.
How about taking a couple weeks off and coming back February 21st? That's a Monday.
The holiday.
It's holiday.
Well, and it also kind of constrains our time because we have a timeline.
Can anybody do Wednesday, the 16th? I don't know what people's schedules are. I'm just throwing out there, trying to think of a Monday or Wednesday, because I know those are days, if any employees wanted to be present, they would be out of work.
I could do that.
I could do.
I can do that.
I can do the 16th.
All right, we got a winner. Winner,
Chicken
chicken
dinner.
dinner. All right, so
Dinner.
so 5 o'clock on Wednesday, February 16th.
Yes.
Heather and Julie, that work for one or both of you?
Yes. Yeah,
That-
that works.
That seems nearly impossible that we were able to get that to work for all of us, but okay, we'll take it. All right, any public comment?
Mr. Chair, sorry. Back to the meeting on the 16th, that will be via Zoom, correct?
Yes.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any public comment? All right, hearing none. I make a motion that we adjourn.
I so make a motion
Second.
to adjourn at 6:58 PM.
Second.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Sue,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Donna,
Aye.
How to set up and install your Google.
that's not me. Eric, I'm a reluctant aye, but yes, we'll adjourn. All right, thank you very much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your Monday.
Heather, Julie, thank you for your time and effort in this. I know it's frustrating, but thank you so much.
No, no, thank you all as well. Have a
Have a
good
good
night.
night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night. Bye-bye.